She goes, I met a boy called Frank Mills on September 12th, right here in front of the Waverly. But unfortunately, I lost his address. And like when I hear that, it pierces right inside.
Yes.
That's what she sounds like.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best.
Gina, I moved the chair so you could sit with me, honey. Look, you can come sit here if you want. Good girl. Yeah, you just jump up. Yeah. Okay. She's mad at me. I've been spending enough time with her.
Yeah.
I was like traveling, I was in Arizona over the weekend. Good girl. Okay, so look, now you can sit right here with mommy while we do the podcast. So we went to Arizona to do this like abortion rally, register voters / hand out Plan B. It was, activism work is chaotic. It's like truly always chaotic. And it was like 111 degrees.
I saw how hot it was.
It was insane. My speech, I felt like when I gave a speech at the rally and I felt like I was not rallied. Because it was like, I was so tired. I was so tired from the heat,
Yeah.
And I was like, they can't take abortion away from us. Like, I was just like, listen, I've given some great speeches in my day. Some real motivating moments. Not my finest moment, I'm just going to say. But that's okay. I was there. We did it. It was funny and bizarre. And June Diane, Raphael, and Kulop, our friend Kulop, were there, had come in from LA. And so I had such a great time seeing them. And then my friend Jess Whites from the ACLU came with me. And then also Mina Harris was there. And then there were like a bunch of TikTokers and influencers and stuff that had come to get content and help register voters and talk to voters about voting for, candidates that make sure that abortion pro-choice candidates. The second stop that we went to register voters was this like a day club. Like,
okay. Like a country club, but
no.
Oh.
Like
a club, like
a club that takes place during the day.
Okay.
Where in the middle of the club, it was like outdoors, the club, and in the middle of it was a giant swimming pool.
Okay. So
and
like a hotel with no rooms.
But no hotel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was a bar with a pool.
Okay.
And it's called like the day, like beach day club or something like that. Like it was giving very Vegas vibes.
That is so Vegas vibes. And also like, it's so, that used to be called the public pool when I was growing up. But
but no alcohol at the public pool.
I guess.
There wasn't. Well, you could bring, I feel like you could bring.
I don't even remember. I only ever went to the public pool like 4 to 5 times in my life. It wasn't near where I lived. But I feel like that's a modern twist on,
well,
needing a pool.
Scottsdale, Arizona has quickly become like the second leading destination for bachelorette parties in the nation.
Wow.
It's like Nashville, Charleston, Scottsdale.
Wow.
And I know, it's crazy. Those are like the big 3.
I wonder why.
Because it's a lot of resorts.
Yeah.
There's golfing, tennis, pickleball.
Okay.
There's great weather year round. It's hot in the summer.
But you're not going to get like caught in the rain or,
Right.
Some pretty wholesome reasons.
And then there are a lot of clubs and bars that people really like.
Wow.
And so this was one of them. And it was just like wild. So the organizers of the activation that we were doing were like, we didn't think you guys would want to go into the club to register voters and talk to them. So we thought you guys can just like stand outside and get people as they're going in to the club. But then it was like 111 degrees and full sun beating down on the Arizona sidewalk. And Mina Harris was like, no, let's go in. And then she goes up to the front and the guy's like, well, you have to be in a bikini or bathing suit. And we're like, wait, what? And they're like, there's a dress code. Men have to be in a bathing suit. Women have to be in a bikini or a bathing suit. And we were like, oh my God. And of course, literally like across the street is a place called Bikini Ranch.
Sure.
Open for just such an occasion. Are they owned by the same person? We don't know. Maybe.
I would think so. I'm going to put a bikini vending machine right outside that place.
Totally. June. Well, to be honest, most of the people going there had like reservations and knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
We just didn't know what the like or understand that was like our second stop, and that if we wanted to go in to register voters and talk to them about the issues, we would need to be wearing bikinis.
Wow.
So June Diane Kulop, Elsa Collins was there, and a couple of the other people went over to Bikini Ranch. There was also then, like, while we were like all looking for bikini tops, this guy came in who was a part of some bachelor party who didn't get the memo, and he was not allowed in. All his friends had gone in, and he's like, do you have any men's suits? And the woman's like, of course we do. Right over there in that basket. And so I was like holding up two pink string bikinis, and I was like, you're a guy. Which one? And he's like, that one. I'm like, you got it.
Oh,
Thank you.
Goodness.
Thank you for your service.
It's like you went back to the 1980s.
It's like we went back to the 1980s. And it was also just like so funny. Like, so then we go in and we're just like randomly, we had the QR code to register people to vote on these stickers.
Yeah.
They hadn't had it cleared that we could like bring the Plan B into the place and give it out.
Sure.
Which is kind of a bummer, but they were giving it out front.
You should have just put it in the water so everyone could get some.
A little bit, right? But we put the stickers on our boobs so that people who weren't registered could go to the link and register to vote right there in front of us.
You're doing
But the
what you
funniest part,
gotta
I
do.
mean, funniest part or whatever, most of the people there were not from or voting in Arizona.
Right.
They were all from like all over the country.
Right.
Talked to some great girls from Idaho on a bachelorette.
Oh, nice. Okay.
They were not registered. They registered it up.
Wow.
I talked to a guy from Florida.
Okay.
I was like, you got to make sure Amendment 4.
Yeah.
That's the abortion thing that'll be on the ballot. I talked to some guys from Illinois. I was like, you're going to have a really important data amendment on your in your general election in November. Make sure you pay attention.
Wow.
But it was, quite a vibe. Jodie Foster was there all day with us. And like,
I saw that.
it was incredible.
Online.
And she was like talking to everyone out front and like just she's like a badass. She's just so
very
cool.
Yeah.
She's so cool. And she spoke at the rally.
That's really neat.
And Amanda Sarwowski, who is the case, who filed the lead plaintiff in the case, Sarwowski versus the state of Texas.
Right.
Was there. And she spoke and we got to meet because I've obviously like reposted her stuff and her story is really intense. And yeah, and it was good. And then other than that, my family was good. I brought Cricket to see the fam and the cousins, and that was all really nice. And, you know, my sister works for Valley Youth Theater, which is this huge children's theater company in Phoenix, and they were having their opening night of Willy Wonka, so we went to see it, and it was incredible. The kids were so talented, and I went backstage to say break a leg and hi to the kids before. None of them like knew I was coming or that Leanne is my sister. And of course, they've all seen Mean Girls, the musical.
Right.
And a lot of them loved, you know, these are all theater kids.
Right.
And a lot of them loved Girls Five Eva, too.
Aw, that's so
I know, it was
nice.
really cute. Hold on one second.
Okay.
I don't know what that was.
Someone rang your doorbell and...
Well, they rang to be buzzed in. And I was thinking I might be getting a delivery, so... But then they never came to my door, so I don't know what that is.
All right. Well, I hope this isn't the beginning of a true crime podcast.
I don't think it is.
Seems fine, though. Seems like it was they probably just rang the wrong buzzer.
They rang the wrong buzzer, or
they're lost.
They're lost somehow. I don't know. How was your weekend?
It was good. I was just, recovering from the ear infection. Very goofy to have an ear infection. So many people DM'd me being like, go immediately to the doctor. You're going to have permanent vertigo. It was fine. All good. Just an ear infection. Just a little dizzy, but now much better. And that's it really. Matt went to Pittsburgh to bring he went to Cape Cod to get his mom to bring her to Pittsburgh to visit her sister so she wouldn't have to travel alone. And so he's in Pittsburgh right now. So we had only seen each other for a few days before he was like off on some other adventure. And then the boys have both been house sitting at various people's houses. So I've just been alone in my house. Just alone in my house with my new
Well, I know where
oven.
one of them is.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, he was one place and then now he's at the other.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I actually thought that he was coming home last night, but it turns out he was at like one friend of ours house, and then he's at another friend's house, but he never stopped home in between. And then, yeah, Lincoln was at Emily's, and now Eli's at Emily's. It's like they're
Emily is here.
Yeah, Emily has been really busy. Emily Beebe. I hope she doesn't mind us saying she's been really busy. But
she's very busy.
Her home is like, it's basically part of my kids' college education experience because they were robbed of college by COVID. So
they're so great. They take such good care of Alfie. Emily has a crazy story. Should I tell it on this podcast? Do people want to hear it?
If she doesn't mind.
Should we ask her? Do you know the story?
All I know is that Eli got bit by one of his dog clients, and Emily immediately texted me to make sure it wasn't Alfie. And I was like, never. And she was like, I asked Alfie first.
Well, don't say never.
Well, I mean, listen, yes, it's true. But I'm just saying that it has never happened so far. But Emily said that she asked Alfie first before she texted me, and he denied it, but that he looked guilty.
He denied it. It's really funny.
Anyway, what happened with Emily?
Okay. You guys, this story is so insane. That's why I do feel like I have to tell it. I just text her. Can I tell this story on the podcast? Okay, so Alfie is little. You guys, I've posted pictures of Alfie before, but he's a muttster, so he's a mixture. But he's
you can see a picture of Jake Johnson holding him.
Yes, Jake Johnson was Jake Johnson and Alfie got along really well. he's like, I would say probably 15 pounds, maybe.
Yeah, around there.
12 to 15.
Yeah.
Small animal.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's, yep, I got a thumbs up. Okay, great, because I'm already telling it. And he can be a little like wild and like crazy. And that's why I think Emily was worried if Alfie might have bit Eli, because sometimes he gets like riled up and he's like, you know, and he gets like bitey, but not like in a mean way, just like in a crazy dog way.
Yeah.
So anyway, sometimes Alfie does this thing in the middle of the night where he brings his sock. He likes these socks that have knots in them.
Yes. I know
he brings
the story.
these socks into bed in the middle of the night and is like playing with the sock, you know, his little toys.
Yeah.
And if you turn on the light, Alfie like feels like then it's time to really play, and it just like gets him more riled up, and then it's harder to get him settled down, okay? So last Thursday night, Emily wakes up middle of the night, is woken up in the middle of the night by Alfie attacking his toy in her bed.
Right.
And is like, ugh, Alfie, stop. It's just like in bed, not turning the light on. Guys, anytime someone says not turning the light on, just know it's not going to be great.
It's not great.
It's not going to be great what happens.
Should have turned the light on.
She should have turned the light on. Well, it keeps going on. He kind of settles down for a second. Then he goes crazy again. Finally, Emily's like, I got to turn on the light and like put the sock back in his toys so he can't like get to it until the morning. She turns on the light. It is not a sock. It is a dead baby possum. It is a dead baby possum in her bed.
Right.
With like what she thinks, she doesn't even know, just like dirt and disgustingness.
Goo. Yeah.
Goo
Gore.
all over her bed. She screams, obviously, rightfully, sort of kicks the dead baby possum off the bed. It lands on her bedside rug. That's a little rug. She rolls it up, like, or grabs it, you know, so she's not touching this dead baby possum, screaming, runs to the front of her house, like throws it out onto the stoop of her house, closes the door, looks around. The house is like an animal situation, like every inch of her home. Alfie has like a very small doggy door because he's a very small dog.
Right.
And sometimes she locks it, you know, it'll be locked at night. He can't get in and out. But like that night, for whatever reason, she had forgotten or whatever. And she cleans up the house as best she can. She like strips her bed.
I know.
Throws everything, like, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Is like just crying.
Yeah.
Can't get over what's happened. Eventually, like, falls back asleep for a couple hours, wakes up in the morning, and is like, gets a big trash bag and is like, I guess I have to go deal with this dead baby possum in the front yard. And she goes out and there's nothing in the rug. It's gone. And she's like, oh God, like a coyote probably got it, you know?
Right.
Or another animal came and got it. And she has she has cameras all over her house. And so she goes to look and she sees that she sees when she throws the dead baby possum in the rug out the front door. And then like, she's like just watching, kind of fast forwarding. 20 minutes passes. And then this little head peeks out, these two eyes. And this dead baby possum was not dead. It was playing possum.
Possum, like we've been told.
It was playing possum. And it comes out and it just scurries away.
I love that she posted it on Instagram with the True Blood theme music.
Oh my God, I didn't even see that. That's really funny.
It was so funny. Oh my God. I know. I did know this story, and I was like, texted her to make sure she was okay. And then she was like, I don't know what I'm going to do about my sheets. And I was like, are you going to like throw your sheets away? And she was like, they're really nice sheets. And so I offered to come wash them for her, but she just did it herself.
I mean, she said she washed everything twice in hot water.
Oh my God. It's a lot. It's a lot to wake up to a possum anywhere in your house, but never mind one that you think has been killed in your bed and then it comes back to life. But you know what? Good for that possum. That possum did what they're advertised to do. And it's like, I think to save their own lives. And I think it worked in his case. It worked out for him that night.
Yeah. It did. I definitely feel like happy for the possum. I said to Emily that like, I'm happy the possum is alive. I'm happy it wasn't killed and Alfie wasn't a possum murderer. I'm happy about that.
Right.
However, to me, in retrospect, thinking about the fact that there was a live possum, like if I were Emily, thinking about the fact that there was a live possum in my bed, I don't know if I would be able to like handle it. Like it creeps me out so much to think that there was a live possum in her bed with her.
Yeah, and like to know that like how it happened and that it could happen technically again.
Could happen anytime. How do we protect ourselves against the baby possums? I also sort of wonder if Alfie and the possum are friends and if they were just playing.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Alfie definitely thought he killed that possum and it was, probably let down by the outcome. Yeah, that's what I said to Emily. I was like, you're so mean to Alfie. You didn't like his present.
Yeah. He thought it was like this beautiful gift that he was bringing to his mother.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. Okay. So the fact that there are so many possums now, it seems like, I don't know if it's because like social media didn't exist before, but I was just not so aware that there were so many possums in every state of the United States before. But now I just see possums all the time. And I see them with my own two eyes, obviously, in our yard here. When we moved here, like the girls were already, they're already like 10 years old or whatever when we moved here. Maybe not that old, but they were like old ladies, And we had never had like an enclosed yard before. So we always just took them out on leashes or whatever. So we didn't know like how fast they could run or what they could catch. And we don't have any possums in the yard because I think like word got out that they have like nearly murdered a bunch of possums because that is like their passion in life, to murder little possums and to like shake them out of the trees or whatever. But we know that they have caught a bird in midair. We know that they'll eat anything, dead or alive. So,
no, we know Gina. We always have to watch out for Gina.
Yeah. So I think that's always like, I think the animal's objective is always, even though it's an adorable possum or adorable bird or whatever, the dog, even though the dog is also adorable, it's always their goal to murder.
They have murder on the brain.
Yeah, it's like what they're animals. They think, I don't know what they think. It's just their instinct. It's just their instinct. Like, have you ever seen a cat when a cat wants to kill something outside and it's like making like killing noises like through the window and it's like, like it's insane and scary. And we can try to domesticate these creatures all we want and give them all kinds of delicious treats. But when it comes down to it,
did you see this thing that like foxes are trying to be domesticated?
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, like they're like trying to be domesticated themselves.
Oh, Prince
Like
Edward Island is full of foxes, and they are practically pets. Like, because I believe, and someone from the Maritimes of Canada, you can correct me if I'm incorrect. I believe at one point foxes were brought onto the island and like kind of let loose so that fur trappers could have like furs, like fox furs or whatever. And so I think there were farmed foxes, but then I think they also were just like let loose to breed or whatever. Of course, obviously nobody traps foxes anymore. And that's a good thing. But the upshot is that just on Prince Edward Island, like you'll wake up in the morning and like go to get coffee in town or whatever. You'll go the 6 miles to get coffee and you'll just see like little foxes sitting on people's doorsteps, like, you know, like they're cats or whatever. So they are practically domesticated. It makes sense. It seems like in the evolution of foxes, you know, that they would try to get indoors at some point.
Well, I think they see dogs and cats and they're like, wait, we're like that.
Yeah, I want a box from Chewy to be delivered to me. I'm adorable.
Wait.
I'm half cat, half dog.
Wait, we could do that.
Dream big, foxes. That's what I say. You know, fox is like my favorite little animal.
Really?
Yeah, I have a giant fox tattoo on my arm. But I never show it, so you wouldn't see it regularly. I never show either of my arms. And then people are always like, oh my God. Like when they see it accidentally, they're always shocked.
I mean, I love an animal. You know I do.
I know you do.
Oh my God. And then yesterday, 2 big things happened.
What happened?
Girls 5 Eva was nominated for a Critics' Choice Award.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Oh, Beam. Guys, I think you know enough about me to know that sleeping sometimes not my strong suit. It's not that it's just like sometimes I have trouble staying asleep and I would like wake up in the middle of the night and I have tried sleep supplements and then we were sent this thing called Beam Dream Powder. Beam's Dream Powder. It's a science-backed, healthy hot cocoa for sleep. Come on. Who doesn't want hot cocoa? It is a game changer. Majorly. It's so easy to make. It's so delicious to drink. And then you sleep through the night. And I think we all deserve to sleep through the night. Because if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not making sense, you're saying weird things, you're replacing words with other words. I don't know. Just all kinds of stuff. The other thing is that like I didn't like taking stuff. I, first of all, will never take drugs to sleep, but I didn't like taking stuff that was giving me like other sleep aids, that drowsiness or grogginess the next day. But Dream contains a very powerful all-natural blend of reishi magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano CBD. And so it helps you fall asleep, it helps you stay asleep, and you wake up refreshed. The numbers don't lie. In addition to me, in a clinical study, 93% of participants reported Dream helped them to get better sleep. Beam Dream, very easy to add to your nighttime routine. You mix Dream into hot water or milk. You can froth it up and you enjoy it right before bed. And today, my listeners, that's you, get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. Their science-backed, healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. So find out why Forbes and the New York Times are all talking about Beam. and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals, and now me and Caissie. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/busy and use code BUSY at checkout. That's shopbeam, BEAM.com/busy and use code BUSY for up to 40% off. Blue Land. You know, you've heard us talk about how disgusting your toilets are. They are actually way grosser than you think. In fact, bacteria and viruses, those can hang around in the toilet bowl even after multiple flushes. Gross and crazy. Well, the easiest way to clean your toilet is Blue Land's sustainable toilet cleaner tablets. I'm obsessed. You drop it in, you watch it fizz. It smells good. Lavender scented is mine. You brush, you flush. It's very simple. There's no more scrubbing. And the tablets are completely plastic free because Blue Land, you've heard us talk about it before, they're on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet. And it's got the same powerful clean you're used to. Blue Land uses no single-use plastic in any component, from the bottles, the tablets, the wrappers, the shipping. Their tablet packaging is fully compostable. Blue Land products are effective and affordable. And the toilet tablets, guys, you're going to be obsessed. Blue Land is my vibe. I love it. And it's trusted in over 1 million homes, including mine. Listen, it is time for you to get into Blue Land. Blue Land has a special offer for our listeners right now. Get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/best. You don't want to miss it. Blueland.com/best for 15% off. That's blueland.com/best to get 15% off.
It was flowers. Look.
Hello. Who sent you flowers?
So I did this, I invested in this company that I love.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I know, the candy. It's called Behave.
Yeah.
And they announced it today. And Mesa, who's that's a woman who founded the company. They just make this it's like gummy candies that are lower in sugar and don't spike your glycemic thing. I think I'm sending them to you, Caissie, so you'll get them.
Nice. Thank
you can try them. I really, really like them a lot.
Nice.
Anyway, so she just sent me flowers. That's nice.
Aw, that's very nice.
I know. But yeah, Girls Five Eva and Renee were both nominated for a TCA award.
Incredible.
And I know, it was all exciting. That
is exciting.
I know.
I'm glad that you got some awards recognition.
Me too. I am too. Because I feel like I'm just, a lot of times I know people are like, awards don't mean anything. And I get that. And also, sometimes it does.
They don't and they do. They don't and they do sometimes. Yeah, that's really cool.
They definitely do and they don't. And it's I think for a show like ours, and I think actually more so now than ever before, it does kind of matter, because if you can cut through at least and get some recognition, because it's just everything, there's so much oversaturation in the market,
Right. Woo! Well, everyone's performance was amazing in it, but I'm happy that Renee's performance was recognized and that the show in general was recognized. That's so cool.
I could not be more thrilled for Renee. We did a group FaceTime yesterday, and I was just crying, just telling her how much I love her and how much the joy of my life is getting to work with her and seeing her be so brilliant and wildly insane in this part. but also just like, obviously, you know, she's been on this podcast before. Like she's just so full of actual wisdom and like, I don't know. She's just she's rare. She is a rare person.
She's got it all.
She really does. She really
got
does.
It all. I know. Yeah, I was thinking about her because I went to see improv. Lincoln did an improv show, and one of the people in the improv show lip synced one of Renee's songs from Hamilton. A young man lip synced one, and it was very funny. His lip sync interpretation did make me laugh. And then also, I went to see A Strange Loop at the Amundsen Theater here in Los Angeles, and after the show they had a Broadway rave, which I was like, I don't know what that is, but I went to see it, and it was just like a big dance party, and they were really bumping some Hamilton remixes out at the Broadway rave to celebrate A Strange Loop. So I feel like I had Renee ringing in my ears for the past week, and like I love that there was energy for her out in the universe, and that it came about in like this nomination for her.
I also told her that when I went to Valley Youth Theater and like was saying hi to the kids and everything, there, you know, the majority of the kids in the show were white. There were only a few kids who were Black in the show, right?
Sure.
And after I like said hi and we took a picture of this like little girl who was Black, like came forward and she was like, this girl's 5. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, so do you know Renee?
Aww.
I was like, yes, of course. She's one of my really good friends. And she was like, I love her so much. And I was just like, there's a lot to love. There's so much to love. And I just was like, I told her that story yesterday when we were talking.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you are such an inspiration to so many kids who maybe for the first time ever, like were able to see a Black actress in like a leading role on the hugest Broadway show of all time.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
And that is why like representation, like, right? Like it's why it matters.
Yes. Yeah. Representation matters. I mean, I literally was thinking about representation and like if I ever thought about it when I was a kid, like if I ever thought about was anything for me, and you know, and I'm talking like as like a little white kid or whatever, but anyway.
Well, but it's so interesting because like anecdotally, remember when I did that horrible commercial? Wait, did we know each other then?
I don't know.
Wait. Do you remember the brand that like scrapped did I ever tell you the story? Like that I had like did a brand thing and it was like a commercial that I was shooting and all this stuff. And then they scrapped the product, but then they like didn't pay me like a huge amount of money that they owed me. Do you remember
Right.
this?
Yeah.
Because I had tweeted something that they felt like was disparaging about the cereal, like about cereal. It was a cereal brand.
Right.
And I had tweeted something that they felt like was disparaging about cereal. But this was before our time together, I guess, wasn't it?
No, it was right at the beginning.
Was it?
Yeah. You were like going through it. Yeah.
Oh, it dragged on forever because they were just like refusing to pay me so much money, and they never paid it to me.
Right.
But anyway, the point is that I had asked, like I always do, whenever I work with brands and I'm shooting commercials or whatever, I like ask if or even a photo shoot, can I have the options of who you're hiring to be the directors, because I always look for a woman or like or a person of color who, instead of just like a white man.
Right.
To direct or do the shoot.
Yeah.
And in that case, they like refused to let me to like give me options or whatever. And they hired a white guy. And I got on set and it was like all men and all white men, like top to bottom.
Yeah.
And I made a comment about it. And the man who was directing, who was like fine, he was fine. I'm not, he was fine.
Yeah.
But he literally did the thing where he looked around and he's like, "Is it? Huh? I didn't notice."
Right, because you didn't. Yeah.
Of course you didn't notice.
Right.
Because everybody looks like you.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, like he probably picked most of the people that were there.
Well, that's 100%.
Yeah.
Like he hired
the crew,
DP, the crew, the like grips, like all of that.
Yeah.
Came from him.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, that is the thing. Like when I was a little kid, I don't know, I didn't think much about that, but like I saw white people reflected in all of the TV shows that I watched.
It's so funny.
Aside from like Cosby Show in a Different World, I
was really thinking about it just because it's a conversation that we're still having and like I had done that, body inclusion panel at ATX Festival or whatever. And I was like, and I was also thinking about, if you watch Busy this week on QVC Plus, there's also an after show that comes up with where I talk with one of the QVC hosts, Amy Strand, who's the nicest, about like all of the shoppable clothes and things that we used on the show so that you don't have to like go and look for them or whatever. But she asked me like who my first celebrity crush was. And I was like, oh, Kermit the Frog, like without hesitation, Kermit the Frog. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, why did I love Kermit the Frog? And it's honestly because like he liked a thick girl. You know what I mean? Like Miss Piggy was my representation. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so many things are clicking right now. I wholly identified with cartoon characters and puppets, like more than people, Like,
yeah, I do know. I like actually get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, Miss Piggy, she was like my icon. And it was because she was like a put together, gorgeous, beautiful, karate chopping fashion model who didn't take any shit from anyone and no one would have dared say to her, like, you don't belong here. Kind of wild. But anyway.
It's really funny.
Representation is an interesting thing to think about. And it's interesting, I think, for people our age to think about, like, how we didn't think about it and who we were, like, connecting with at that age. And then I realized that, like, I connected with, like, Miss Piggy and, like, yeah, a number of cartoon characters. Wendy the Witch, a minor cartoon character. Wendy the Witch was so minor.
From where? What was that
She
from?
was, like, one of Casper the Friendly Ghost's friends. But she had like probably like 4 cartoons about, I don't know what even Wendy the Witch's whole deal was. I just know I loved her. But yeah, a lot of, I probably think that there's like an interesting scholarly paper to be written about. Well, again, like I was a little white girl, but a kid who was a person of color, I think it'd be really interesting to go deep into like, were they able to connect with anyone? Was there anyone and that was representing them, that they felt represented them in pop culture, in the media, or like, did it force little kids to like use their imagination more, to like invent better characters because there weren't characters, or like were the only people of color that were on television and movies, were they in like more dramatic roles? I don't even know. I think it'd be a really interesting, well, never mind a paper, like a book. It would be a great book.
Or a documentary.
Yeah, just to like really take a look at like hard data of what was even on TV and in movies at that time. I mean, I know it's addressed in like the Sesame Street documentary. They talk about how there was like a puppet that was clearly supposed to be Black, and what a stink people made about it at the time, and how some PBS stations weren't gonna run Sesame Street because of a puppet that was supposed to be Black.
But Sesame Street had such incredible diversity in their grown-ups as well, like in the people. So that's weird to me.
They did, but it was a conflict early on. It was the original Gordon wound up like leaving the show, Holly Robinson Pete's father.
I was going to say, yeah, Holly Robinson Pete's dad.
Yeah, he wound up leaving the show over that puppet, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, because Sesame Street was like, we have to scale back because of public pressure, and he was like, no, that's when you don't scale back. Yeah, it was kind of wild. And yeah, and that doesn't make any sense to me why people would be like, this puppet is a bridge too far suddenly. Like,
yeah, that
why?
Doesn't make sense to me either.
I don't know.
It's really bizarre.
Yeah. But
I think the representation question is an interesting thing to ask our guest today.
Yes.
Especially because I know just from the musical A Strange Loop that he, I think, spent a lot of time identifying with white women.
Yes.
When he was a teenager.
Yes, his inner white
and listening
woman.
to like Liz Phair and
right.
Tori Amos and Ani DeFranco and
yeah. Which is, I mean, that makes sense to me that a young person with a lot of feelings would seek out that kind of music that's just like made of feelings. But well, obviously there's a whole song about your inner white girl. Your inner white girl can do anything. Wait, you saw A Strange Loop on Broadway?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
twice. I think I went twice. I loved it so much.
I want to see it again too, because it's so densely packed. Like, it's so densely packed that you have to see it, I think, a second time to catch everything.
Yeah, I listened to the soundtrack a lot too after I saw it.
Yeah.
Which I always think helps, because then you're like, it like sinks in more. You can like...
Right.
It's an intense play though. I found it incredibly intense.
The reason why it's so great is because it's so funny. There's so many like LOL lines. And then there's so many lines where you're like, should I LOL at this? Like,
right.
Like it's making me want to laugh, but should I laugh? And I can't believe I'm laughing at this. And then there's a lot of things that are just like a gut punch.
There's a lot of gut punches in that musical.
Which is like that's a recipe for a good show.
Listen, here's how I'm getting the best sleep of my life. I got my Boll and Branch sheets. Boll and Branch has amazing options for hot sleepers. It's 100% organic cotton percale that's made with a naturally cooling weave. And also their linen, which is amazing, which is made from European flax to be light and airy and softer than soft. I mean, you can do noise machines, you can take your drink at night, you can not snack before bed, you can do yoga, you can do all of those things, but you want to immediately transform your sleep? Get into bed with Boll and Branch sheets. They are a bestseller for a reason. They feel buttery to the touch. They're very breathable. They're perfect for cooler or warmer weather. They use the highest quality thread on earth. They come in 10 versatile colors, all sizes, from twin up to California king. When I got my sheets, I have to tell you, they became my favorite sheets. The quality you can feel, and they get softer with each wash. I love getting into bed with my freshly washed Ball and Branch sheets. I got the stripes, and there's just no comparison. They're the best sheets I've ever had on my bed. They're loved by millions of sleepers. Boll and Branch sheets fit the deepest of mattresses, and they are labeled with the top and bottom tag, so making your bed is easier than ever. Guys, get your coolest, most comfortable sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets when you use promo code BUSY at bollandbranch.com. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com. Promo code BUSY for 15% off plus free shipping. Exclusions apply. See site for details. Here's why I love wild grain. And you've heard us talk about wild grain before. They're amazing. It's all delicious. It's the greatest. It is a subscription box for sourdough breads, fresh pastas, artisanal pastries. You bake from frozen. Every item bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less. There's no thawing required. What I love is that if I'm having someone come over for dinner, or if I just want to impress someone, I'm a little bit like, let me put in a loaf of sourdough from wild grain into the oven 20 minutes before that person gets over. And then they arrive to the house smelling like freshly baked bread. Come on. Is it a kind of a trick? It's kind of a trick. Is it amazing? Yes. Does it work? It does. You can also fully customize your wild grain box now, which I've talked about before, because you can do any combination of breads, pastas, and pastries. And I've built a box of just pastas because the kids go through the fresh pasta so quickly, and it cooks so fast that I know that if they're like starving and they need food immediately, I can get into that pasta and it just does it. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend it. I'm a genuinely huge fan of wild grain. For a limited time, you can get $30 off your first box plus free croissants in every box, guys, when you go to wildgrain.com/busy to start your subscription. You heard me, free croissants in every box, and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/busy. That's wildgrain.com/busy, or you can use promo code BUSY at the checkout.
There's your beautiful face.
Hi.
Hello.
Busy.
Hello. Busy. Good to see you.
Michael
Hi.
R. Jackson has joined us. Let's introduce our guest. Michael, we were just talking about A Strange Loop. We were talking about you, and we were talking about the curious question of representation and
before I was sharing an anecdote, which, Renee Elise Goldsberry is one of my dearest friends. I shared it with Renee because I was like, you are, for so many little kids who love theater, maybe the first time they got to see a Black actress in a lead in the biggest show ever, and like how much that fucking matters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, I often think about, it's interesting for me because I feel like I sometimes take this for granted a little bit, because I grew up in I'm always tell people I grew up in a Black family in a very Black city. I went to Black churches, Black schools, and I sort of grew up in a period of time in the 90s when there was quite a lot of Black representation on TV. And also I was reading a lot. I was reading a lot of books by Black authors. I had teachers who were putting Black authors books into my hands. And so, I just took for granted that everybody had that. And so it hasn't really been until sort of later recent years that I've realized that there's a lot of people out there and kids and even other people who are like my peers or in my age group who had a very different upbringing.
I was sharing an anecdote with Busy that I was saying, like, growing up in the 70s, I just had an epiphany that I strongly identified mostly with Miss Piggy because she was like a thick brat. And I was like, I just realized when someone asked me recently who my first celebrity crush was, I was like, Kermit the Frog, 100%. And then I was like, oh, because he liked Miss Piggy.
And for me, I always identified with whatever character was in something who was like completely alone, was like a loner by themselves, a sad child in a corner.
Yes.
Like I remember reading A Wrinkle in Time and being like, Meg,
yes,
I see you, Meg. I see you,
and you see
me. And then reading like Dear Mr. Hint. My mom got me a weekly reader program.
Yes.
Okay. Every week or month or something. And I remember reading Dear Mr. Henshaw and like reading this sad epistolary sort of format, which I'd never read. The next book I would read that was like that was Carrie. And I'm like, I see you, Carrie.
I'm gonna wreck a prom too one day.
Bad children in the corner. Like those are the characters that I always.
Oh my God, that is so funny, Michael.
Kids who wanted revenge, you know, like for a world that wronged them. Like that, those are always my my guiding lights.
I can't say that I was different. This brings me to an interesting question. I brought a really good friend to see opening night of A Strange Loop at the Amundsen here in LA. Busy, of course, saw it on Broadway. I was so happy to get to see it. But then we ran into a group of other friends, and everybody was so excited that I was getting to talk to you on Tuesday. But everyone wanted to ask, how are you doing? Like that's what everyone wanted to ask what your life is like now versus.
Well, I'm in a nice hotel in Los Angeles. I'm like that. How are they doing? I mean, that's my answer. Like, how is everybody doing? Like,
yeah,
I'm okay. Because it's A Strange Loop is very deceptive in that because it's so personal.
Yeah.
It's very easy to just imprint all of it onto me forever.
Right.
And I accept that, even though I always push back and it's why I always make a distinction between it being autobiographical and self-referential.
Right.
Because it's not an apples to apples ratio of events to my life, but I felt all of that. I mean, it's a self-portrait. It's an exaggeration. It's what it feels like when you're a young person or when I was a young person. That I took all my little feelings and the way I just saw everything in this sort of tunnel of sort of misery or anger or whatever. And I just sort of put it all into the character of Usher and his thoughts. And so, Usher is eternally 25, going on 26.
Right.
I'm 43.
43!
Yes. None of that hard living. And I'm going to be 44 in January. So my response is
keep going.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I'm also, but okay. Tori Amos has this great lyric that I've loved since I was a teenager and from a B-side of hers called Upside Down, where she goes, I'm okay when everything is not okay.
Yeah.
And that for me, that's like sort of the sweet spot for me. I'm okay when everything is not okay.
Oh my gosh.
You're speaking my language now.
Yeah.
We have that in common. Tori and Liz.
And Liz, oh yeah. Trying to get her out here.
Liz Fair, when I lived in New York, when I was the age of Usher, we went to the same laundromat. So that's
okay. She lived on the Lower East Side for a hot second. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh man, I wish Michael could have run into Liz Phair at the laundromat. I never talked to her. I always just looked at her. But my husband was always like, you should talk to her. You should become friends. And I was like,
she's so nice. Like
I know, that's what I
I've only
hear.
met her. I only met her in person once when I went backstage, and then we email sometimes, and she's just so awesome. And I don't know if you got a chance to read her memoir, Horror Stories.
Yes.
No, I haven't read it.
It's so good. Like, and
I gotta read it.
Good, in the way that her album, it's like you think that you know everything about her way of thinking and her experiences or whatever from listening to the album, but then you read the stories that she picks out to tell about her life. And she's just as good at the prose and the honesty and the brutal honesty and the humor that's in her songs as just sort of writing these little vignettes and stories and thinking and having the real insights about her own life.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. It's so good. I can't wait for the second installment.
Amazing.
I'm going to have to get it.
I loved... Wait, I want to ask you about this because I know that you did this with 100% awareness. What I wanted to say about people asking if you were okay, I think it's because people so strongly identified with it. And that's a testament to like how well written and how well performed it was, that it put everybody feeling just like they felt on the subway when they were 25 in New York. Because it was, It was definitely a group of people that also like lived a similar experience. I think of like going somewhere with this goal of trying to make it and your family not really understanding what it is you're trying to do and all the helpful suggestions of what you should be doing instead, what direction you should be going in instead. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, which I felt like I was maybe in a smaller subset of people that picked up some Real Housewives of Atlanta references in this show, because I was like, LOL, laughing.
Candy Burris came to the opening night of Springfield on Broadway, and I don't think he even picked up on it.
Oh, wait, I don't remember this, but also I'm not a Housewives person. So
there you go. Yeah. I mean, I worked at Watch What Happens Live for almost 10 years. So that was my language.
Wait, but what were the references?
Still hasn't seen the show, that bastard.
He's got to come see it.
That's crazy. Wait, what are the references? What were they?
Just like
they're very small and
very
they
small,
very quickly.
Catchphrases. Don't
during the writing on gospel play.
Yes, which is
acting
incredible.
out all the parts. His characters that he acts out is very sort of loosely, not based on, but like a loving homage / kind of send up of Kenya Moore.
Okay.
I love.
Yes.
She went to my high school. I love her. I've never met her, but I love her. And her beautiful daughter. But like, there's a loving sort of homage to her and a little bit Portia. I tried to get it all in there. The only one I couldn't get in there was Nene of a particular season.
Right.
I got Sheree in there. I got Portia in there. I got Kenya in there. And I got Phaedra.
Phaedra is my favorite, by the way. Like, I'm so happy that Phaedra's having a moment with the Traitors, but she has always been one of my favorite housewives of all time.
She's a love to hate for me. Like, strong Phaedra feelings. Although maybe those feelings have mellowed since her last season of Atlanta.
It's very interesting.
I did see her on Ultimate Girls Trip.
Oh, okay.
But then she and Eva were in like a different mode, but
that
last season of
I can tell you one little tidbit that maybe will make you see her if you're interested, is that I always judged housewives by how they treated us coming in to like be guests on Watch What Happens Live. And certain people were, and like whatever, I'm not chalk it up to shyness or whatever. Like sometimes people just didn't even sort of acknowledge or interact with the staff behind the scenes. But other people always knew, like, you know, they knew that I was married, that I had kids, how old my kids were roughly. And Phaedra fell into that category enough where we would always have a conversation. And one time I was like, my husband is a short story writer and he was writing something about like male strip clubs. And Phaedra said, like, what is your husband working on? And I said, oh, he's working on this story about like male strip clubs. And she was like, oh, I represent a bunch of male strippers in Atlanta. And
she was the
like,
one who brought Ridiculous on.
Yes.
In that first season or second season.
Yes. This was really early on before I even knew that. And she was like, oh, if he needs like to do research or whatever, like just have him get in touch with me and I'll put him in contact with like, and I was like, okay, this is such a weird conversation, but also I appreciate Phaedra going the extra mile. And she was very sincere. So then I was like, she just became one of my favorites of all time. But I picked up on those Real Housewives references and was laughing so hard. But then I also was like, it was so funny to me because they're like, without spoiling too much, there's like a big cultural, like pop cultural sort of favorite that kind of Usher, the character, is not his favorite. He thinks it's that
yes,
it's bad for society.
To opening.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was sitting behind her.
That was so unexpected. I have to tell you.
Were you shocked?
I was because I saw her because there was like a pre-reception thing they had for like donors and stuff that I went to. And she was there, and I had been told the day before that she was going to be there, and I was like, "All right."
Wait, can we just say people know? People saw the pictures. Beyonce's mother was there.
There's some light Beyonce slander, and which I borrowed from Bell Hooks, may she rest in peace, and Tina Lawson came to see a Strange Loop on opening night, but apparently either it went over her head or she didn't care. Because she said, like, she posted about the show and said nice things about it.
Yeah,
so
and
that's actually what I really appreciate that. It's why I'm sort of like, not disappointed, but that Tyler Perry, like, won't come and see it. Because I'm like, just come and see it. Like, think of it as like a comedy roast.
Right.
Just like, and it's just total comedy roast. That's what it is. That's all it is. And it's not even really about you.
It isn't about, that's the thing I was going to say. I'm like, I just feel like it's not even about him.
It's about who that character was when they were 25.
And also
and just what that person
represents
for them in that moment in their own, you know, angst and isolation.
Right. In that same post-show gaggle where everyone was saying, can you ask Michael R. Jackson how he's doing? I want to know how he's doing. Everybody started talking about all of the papers that they wrote about Tyler Perry in college. And they were like, and so literally every person in the conversation was like, oh, I wrote a paper about this and I wrote a paper about that and I wrote a thesis about this. And I was like, you know, you all have Tyler Perry to thank for your various degrees.
Well, that's also another aspect to it that I think is hard. I mean, there's many layers to why he ended up as a figure in this piece.
Right.
And one of them is that we live in a culture where, especially in Black culture, where there's so much fear about talking about sort of in-group issues and stuff. And so there's always this notion of kitchen table talk, and we can't really criticize each other's work. But I actually think that that's a detriment. Like, it actually makes it so that we can't grow artistically or intellectually and so forth. And I actually think that, like, his work has such American cultural import here in the United States that I actually think that to criticize it is actually sort of showing the extent to which it's like strong enough to withstand the criticism. He has like such a huge audience. Nothing that I say in A Strange Loop is going to change that. And I'm not trying to change that. But like, I do think that it's important to actually talk about what's in these works. Just like I'm open to criticism. There are people who criticize A Strange Loop. Great.
Right.
And that's as it should be. And so I just don't like this idea that like don't criticize, don't because then we don't want the white people to see that and blah 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 blah. Like I just am so over that, against it. I won't subscribe to it.
Right.
But it's
you're just saying like what this character thought. I mean, the way that I looked at it is like this character has critiques of Tyler Perry that are obviously rooted in like feeling a certain way based on the way their family feels about this, while also loving the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Who, you know what I mean? So it's just you're just saying
in like real life.
Yeah.
And he's interested in like a certain kind of artistic rigor. He has his own thing, you know?
Yeah.
But also like at the same time, there's a whole scene wherein the guardians of musical theater centrism sit there and they're like, you need to make A Strange Loop be more like this. Why isn't it more like that? It has to do this. Why? So like his work is totally up for criticism and like by everyone.
Yeah, you criticize the work within the work.
The ancestors come out of the grave to tell him, you can't do this, you can't do that. So, but he has this one criticism of this one figure and like all hell breaks loose. And I find that to be interesting.
I mean,
I agree.
It's just funny, by the way. It's just like for me, like funny is like just beats all else.
Yeah, like I'm totally here for a laugh. Like I'm of the era of like I got a chance to meet one of my comedy idols in the last year, hang out with her, Tracy Ullman.
Oh, incredible.
And she's just here for a laugh. Like, and we talked about it. And and that's something that like I hold on to it like for dear life, because I often feel like people have lost their real sense of humor. And it just sometimes things feel so sort of tight and like careful. Yeah. And I every once in a while on YouTube, I'll look up some old episode of Tracy Takes On. And the characters that she created and the way, and I love the way that show is structured, where it would be like a little 1 minute or 30-second anecdote with one character that would build to like a larger story that would go through the episode. And her characters and the writing, it makes you laugh so much. And characters making fun of themselves, characters making fun of each other. It's just like laugh, 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 laugh. And that's what I'm about.
Yeah, that show is full of legitimate laughs. Like I haven't seen a theater full of people laugh that way in a really long time. And I loved that depending on like what the joke was, like I said, like I caught some things that I feel like other people didn't catch. I want to go back and see it at least 2 more times so that I can feel like I caught everything. But what different people were laughing at was really exciting for me.
Yeah, had Tracy Ullman seen A Strange Loop?
She saw it in London.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, and then it was really cool because I wasn't there when she saw it. I had already left, and they recorded her sending me like a message, and they sent it to me, and it was so nice. And then through some weird happenstance, I got to hang out with her in New York, because she like bought an apartment in New York. And then I went to her apartment and we hung out for the afternoon, and she like gave me like tea. She made tea and cookies or biscuits, I guess. And we talked and gossiped, and it was so cool. And then when I went back to London for an awards ceremony, and she still has a house there. And so I hung out with her and her son Johnny, and we like walked around we went to like a shopping place, and she looked for like Christmas ornaments and presents.
God, that's amazing.
Oh my God, that's like a dream afternoon.
It was like a pretty great day.
BetterHelp. BetterHelp, you better help it. Help it. BetterHelp. How's that? Is that good? I am definitely thrilled that this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/busy and get on your way to being your best self. Listen, we all have a lot of different stressors happening, big and small. When we keep them bottled up, that's not good for anybody. Therapy is a safe place to get things out, to get things done, to move through them, and to figure out how to do that. A great therapist is the best addition to your life. It's like as good as your workout. It's as good as making sure that you get a physical yearly, all of those things. If you are a person, which I feel like I've talked to many people recently who are like, oh, I know, I need to get back into therapy. I don't have a therapist anymore. I don't know where to start. It all seems too complicated. I don't have a lot of time. Blah, 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 blah. I get it. It's hard. But that's why BetterHelp is such an incredible service, because it's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient and flexible and suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. It's truly the greatest. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/best today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/best. Warmer weather is the best. I love sunsets after 7 p.m. I love having happy hours outside. I love being able to have happy hours. I love Aperol spritzes returning. I love turning my closet over. So now I got my summer clothes. And let me tell you something. I'm keeping those legs smooth and ready for my spring and summer, my summertime adventures with Athena Club. I know that you've probably heard about Athena Club, but this is your official sign to finally make the switch. Athena Club's award-winning TikTok viral razor kit is worth the hype. You have to try it to believe it. First of all, the razors glide so effortlessly thanks to 5 precision-engineered blades. The blades glide across your skin. They leave you with the smoothest skin after just one swipe. The razors are surrounded by a super moisturizing water-activated serum with hyaluronic acid and avocado oil that hydrates as you shave. Plus, it has built-in skin guards that help prevent razor burn and reduce irritation. The razor is dermatologist approved, made for sensitive skin, voted the best razor for sensitive skin by Vogue. Come on. The Athena Club razor kit is also an absolute steal at just $10. But don't let the price fool you. Do not. The razor feels expensive. The razor kit comes with this really beautiful ergonomic handle, 2 of the 5-blade patented razor refills, a game-changing magnetic hook for easy storage. So say goodbye to razor burn and goopy razor heads, because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get better organization and the smoothest shave ever. Guys, you got to try it. Seriously, since switching, I have gotten 0 razor burn from Athena Club's razor. Are you ready to upgrade your shaving experience? Switch to the best razor on the market and show your skin you care with Athena Club. Head over to athenaclub.com and get their already affordable razor kit for 30% off with code BUSY at the checkout. You can also find Athena Club razors at your local Target store. Trust me, you're not going to look back. Happy shaving. Is it so surreal, though? I mean, Tyler Perry notwithstanding, is it so surreal that people like... What?
We've spoken over.
Oh, you have.
Weird thing. Every once in a while, I'll text him or we'll talk on the phone. It's very weird. But continue.
But he never saw. But he never. He doesn't want to. He's not curious.
My diagnosis is that he's just one of these people who's very thin-skinned. like some people don't want the roast. Like they don't want to be made fun of. They don't
Right.
like they just don't have
It's the Taylor Swift lyric. Do you like Taylor Swift too?
I have complex feelings about Taylor Swift. I am fascinated by her impact.
Yeah.
But I would not say I'm a fan.
No, okay, so you and I are basically the same age.
Right.
And I think were it not for having a now almost 16-year-old daughter, I think I would be in the same boat as you. But the sheer exposure, like amount of exposure that I have now had at this point has like converted me into it. But she does have this lyric that just made me think of it. And it's, to you, I can admit that I'm just too soft for all of it.
Oh, well, that's honesty. I actually have been studying her though, because there's I've been slowly gathering thoughts and ideas for another musical that I'm working on that she's not a part of it, but like I've been studying her for this musical.
Interesting.
Okay. All right.
Well, you and I should have lunch. I have thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. I've just been studying her songwriting styles. That like more than anything. Like there's something about her songwriting that I find interesting. That for what I'm writing, that I'm like, I want to try to get inside the mind of the hive mind of
the hive mind.
What?
Of like her and Jack Antonoff.
Oh yeah, her and also I've been studying Harry Styles as well.
I'm obsessed. Well, I love.
Yeah. He seems like a nice dude.
I never met him. My daughter met him, but and he was really lovely to her. But I just love when I took Birdie to see him. Did you see him when he was at Madison Square Garden? Or
no, I've never seen him live. I just have seen things on YouTube. And
another case of like, were it not for my teenage daughter exposing me, there's no way I would have been on that journey.
Right.
But seeing him live and that Harry's House, was Harry's House or the one before it, whichever one it was that I saw for the first time, it was like, I imagine this must have been like what it must have been like to see Mick Jagger in like the 60s, 70s or whatever. Like it was so fucking electric. And like I saw Madonna, back in the, like I've seen it felt like that. It felt like one of those presences that it's rare. It's not just.
Yes. And I take it back. I actually have seen him perform live once. I got nominated for a Grammy. So I got to go to the Grammys.
Oh my God.
2 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2022. Yeah.
And he performed at the Grammys. And so I did see him there. And I had been, just because that song as it was just kept being played everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
And I just started listening to it and thinking about it. And I looked it up and I like that song figures into this next show. Not the song itself, but like the impressions of it.
Yeah. Is that how it works for you? I'm so interested because
I was going to say, what is it? Do you mind saying like what it is that is hooking you about?
So when I listened to it, the first time I heard it, I was in a restaurant bar. I was sitting at the bar at a restaurant and I heard this song and I didn't know who it was, but I liked it. It had there was something about the feeling of it that felt very familiar to me that I hooked into. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, and I like Shazam. I still use Shazam.
I love Shazam.
And I was like, oh, it's this song by this guy, Harry Styles. I hear people talk about. He was in that band, One Direction. And I never paid any attention to this because all of these people I'm too old.
No, it's not for us. I'm telling you, you're right. It's not for us.
And
right.
So, but the song had left an impression on me, and I kept hearing it. And then one day, after having heard it, however many times I heard it, I didn't buy the album or anything, but I'd heard it a bunch of places. It dawned on me that it had a very similar, at least the beginning of it, or the vibe of it was very, very similar to Take On Me by AHA.
100%.
Yes.
And once I started to think about that, then I went back and listened to Take On Me, AHA, which is one of my favorite pop songs ever.
Amazing,
and I
yes.
think about like, what are these songs? How do these songs enter our lives, and what do they do, and what about them do we like? Because I've been thinking a lot about music in general in the world, and how music has changed over years, and how the radio has changed, and how music has been streaming for the last 25 years, and we don't consume it in the same way. And it's not 1996 and I'm going to Fairline Town Center to go to Sam Goody to look through
Right.
the CDs and picking them out, and like going home and sitting with my CD and listening to the whole album all the way through, which is what I did with every single Tori Amos album I ever got as a teenager. I would have a holy sitting with the whole album where I would devour it from beginning to end, read every single word. But this is not how music is consumed anymore. And also, music is not made in a way for you to do that either.
Right.
And so part of what I've been listening for, as I listen to a lot of the pop music that's sort of out there for the young people, is like how familiar is it sometimes people are just trying to sort of reference something earlier, or they're trying to be a vibe. It's like a vibe. It's based on like something that's kind of in the background, that's sort of hypnotic. And there's an extent to which all pop music can be like that, but I almost feel like now there's like it's like an algorithm.
Yes.
It's like making the music in a way that feels different to me than when I was younger. And I've been interested in that, and whether I can approximate that as a human, like if I can do that on purpose.
Right.
And so I've been studying this music that to me feels a little bit hypnotic and algorithmic, and sort of like, it's a bop, it's a bop, it's a bop.
It's a bop.
Yeah.
Bop, you know?
It's a banger.
Yeah. I'm still finding my way through the totality of what that all means, but I just have been listening to the most popular songs.
Olivia Rodrigo.
Right. To sort of try to like understand how they're constructed and what makes them either the same or different from music that I consumed.
That's amazing. And then lyrically, I think you actually...
And the lyrics are actually the biggest part of it, because a lot of the music is it is familiar. Like, it's so great.
Familiar.
The lyrics are like nobody's saying like, ain't too proud to beg, please darling, please don't leave me, girl. No one's singing like, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. You're the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right. I actually think that Taylor, Harry, I'm going to say Prince, who's like my favorite, who I love to talk about ad nauseum, and musical theater have a lot in common, because what you're just saying, like there is no room for the generic in any of this music now. It's all hyper specific and meant to bring you to a place where, like, I was thinking of the Beatles, like, what does love me do mean? Like, okay, and it was catchy and
doobie doobie.
Yeah.
Doobie doobie do.
Yeah.
Exactly. But like Prince in particular was, I think, like ahead of his time, being hyper specific, saying like, I'm going to say exactly what it is that I mean, and whether or not you know what I mean, that's up to you. That's up to interpretation. But I feel like Taylor and Harry, and they remind me of musical theater in that they go to like a hyper specific place.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm studying it. I'm figuring it out. The musical, which is still very in gestation. is also about other things, but a big part of the musical world of it has to do with like constant bops and vibes that you kind of don't really pay that much close attention to what they're saying.
Right.
But I'm trying to make the lyrics actually be like to this music that's like, yeah, you know, kind of everybody say yeah music.
Yeah.
But the lyric is kind of like signaling something different.
Interesting. It's giving me Josie and the Pussycat vibes.
Yeah, you know, just yeah. There's just I'm also like a writer who's my number one tool in my toolbox is irony. Like I'm like so about irony. Like I for good or for ill, like that's my thing. And so I'm always trying to see if I can make the music do one thing and the lyric do another.
Yes.
And what meaning comes out of that.
Can I ask you about your process a little bit? Like just in terms of, does the story idea come to you first, or sort of like this conceptual idea of looking at what is pop music now, like all the things that you were just talking about?
You know, it really depends on the project. And the ideas sort of like they creep up on me, you know, like a spider, you know, like, and I sort of have to really sit with it. Like this particular idea is also one that was, so I'd had this idea for a musical that I gotten commissioned for 7 or 8 years ago. And that idea was a totally different idea. Like it was a totally different idea, or it was a more basic idea. It was just going to be a musical set in an office because it was sort of drawn from my experience of having worked for 5 years as a finance assistant in an advertising agency, which was like one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. And like it really sort of wrung me out when I was those years. And so it was just going to be a musical about sort of what it means to work 40 plus hours somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the years, things in the world started to change very rapidly. And I'm in some ways kind of a rapid responder in my work. And so as the world was changing, the thing that the musical was sort of oriented around started to shift a little bit. It started to be still set in this office, but I started to really notice, because I got commissioned right before Trump was elected.
Right. And that's a shift.
And then things began to shift, but but it wasn't, but the thing I noticed in that shift was not about Trump's election specifically, but about people's reaction to it, and from all directions. And I was interested in specifically how people were communicating online and how online discourse really sort of blew up, like in a huge way. And so then the musical sort of started to orient itself around that, but still in this office place. But then, you know, I got busy with The Strange Loop. I got busy with White Girl in Danger. I was working on other things, and that piece was on the back burner. And then and then the world began to shift again, sort of post-pandemic. And I started to think about, and suddenly then one day I was like sitting somewhere listening, hearing this Harry Styles song, hearing all these pop songs, thinking about music a lot. And the piece had a different, like it was still set in an office, but it turned into something that was a little bit more experimental. Like it wasn't, whereas before when I had started with something that was just going to be a little bit more naturalistic, suddenly I was like, oh no, this is actually a more like Brechtian experimental kind of piece.
And then were you like, oh shit, or were you excited?
I mean, I am like, oh shit, because that's not necessarily my natural wheelhouse.
Right.
But it feels something that's that sort of aware of itself feels appropriate for the ideas that I'm thinking about. And I've been keeping this long list of ideas in my phone about that have taken little aspects of all the versions of it before, but are now sort of filtering into this frame that has to do with the idea of what if in America we all are just coworkers? Like we all work for a giant company called America.
I mean, by the way, yeah.
and
but this
everybody
is
in our
yes.
and all our relationships are just co-worker relationships. Or
transactional.
some people are our managers. Everything that happens between us are transactions, whether it's our mom or our child or a boyfriend or anybody. We're all just like little co-workers, and our job is to create content. You know? And
I'm obsessed.
We get judged based on the content we create. So that's the general idea.
Wow.
But I'm still.
Well, listen, I just want you to know that I am tech avail.
Okay.
So tech avail for some readings.
Okay.
I was gonna say this feels very
I'm ready.
true to me. I was.
Yeah. It's just a thought I've been having. Like I've been having this thought, and so I'm gonna and I want it to be kind of like, you know, I'm essentially a comedy writer.
Yeah.
I want it to be kind of. I mean, it's gonna be dark. I mean, it's gonna be dark. I mean, this piece is gonna be dark, but we're gonna laugh. We're gonna have some laughs.
We gotta laugh.
We're gonna laugh in the darkness, you know, of it. And it's kind of like, I think the closest that I have to like a musical I love is this musical called The Adding Machine that came out many, many years ago. It's not that super well known, but I highly recommend it. Or like, I mean, it's not like You're in Town, but it's going to have a kind of dystopian kind of container to it. But this idea, and like, it's still based in this office. Like, a big part of it is annual performance reviews, which I remember I used to get them. And just the thought of like, you walk into an office with your boss, your manager, whomever, and they sit there with a little piece of paper and they tell you how you did this year or this quarter.
Or they ask you how you think you did, and does what you think that you did match what I think you did? And I'm like, I'm fucking great.
You gave yourself a 4. I'm giving you a 2.
That's so insane.
What's the discrepancy between the 4 and the 2? Well, we have to outline your business effectiveness. And there's just something about that feels like the world in general.
Yeah, like it's just like a psychological experiment that
and how you do on this is all determines what your raise will be.
Right.
But your raise is already determined.
It's already determined, and you never were getting it.
You're never going to get it, or you're only going to get that like 0.6%.
Right.
That's a cost of living adjustment.
Oh my God. This is also a horror movie.
Yeah, I know.
It's a horror show.
It is that. And that's why I'm spending a lot of time thinking about it and then figuring out how do these bops fit into it.
I love it. I fucking love it.
As it was.
Oh my gosh. Do you ever feel like there's science to it? Like there's some science to these bops that
there is. I mean, there is. I mean,
100%. I agree.
I don't know what it is, but there definitely is. Because like these engineers are like people like those people like Max Martin. But I remember hearing some interview where he would be like, oh, it has to be this many beats per minute.
Right.
And like, because that's what like the audience is like, when they hear it at those many beats per minute, it like makes them.
Yeah, you can do CPR to stay alive and bring someone back to life.
Yeah.
Wait, you must have seen Stereophonic. Did you see it on Broadway?
Yes, I did. It was really cool.
It's cool. But like, I thought one of my favorite parts of it is the one part in it where like, they keep starting and stopping because the engineer is like, it's off. Like, it's off.
Oh, yeah,
and for me, as a person who isn't like a musician, I couldn't tell and then they use this. Okay, so
and that's very true to life. I mean, because I've been in the studio, many times, and I will confess, like, though I'm a composer, I don't have that ear for in the studio. I mean, I have it for like my own music in the sense of I know what I want, but like I don't have like that hypersensitive ear that's like, oh, the sound.
It's right off. But then the trick in this scene, in this musical, is that they put the drum click track in or whatever, and then they play it, and then you're like, even me, who I was like, I didn't really understand what he was talking about, that it was off. Then the click track goes in, and then you're like, oh, that sounds right.
Right.
You know, which is what you're talking about. It's like there is some algorithmic thing that these people, that Max Merton, that these guys know is going to resonate in our little brains.
Have you guys ever seen that clip of Harry Connick Jr. playing piano for a crowd? And
he makes them do it in the right key signature.
They're clapping on the 1 and the 3, and it makes him insane.
Crazy.
And so he adds white people, of course.
Yeah, but I love it.
He adds an extra beat so that people end up clapping on the 2 and 4, and you can just see him like, oh, thank God.
I mean, but that's because he's like a true blue musician, and he like he knows, and like the music is in his soul. Yeah. And that's a little bit what I'm talking about in this show, and I'm thinking through is like there's an aspect to, I'm not singling out Taylor Swift or hairstyles per se, but I'm just saying there's something about the way that music has started to be made in the last 2 decades that to me, it sounds really good, but it can be a little soulless. Mm-hmm. And the soullessness is in the 2 and the 4. I mean, not the 2 and the 4, but like in Harry Connick's impulse to like, no, it has to be like that because this music has a heartbeat that you need to be in sync with.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit, and I'm just also just thinking about like a lot of the old music that I listen to, which also isn't just music of the era I grew up in. Like I was in the 90s listening to like Motown or to other eras of music and listening to like those singers and thinking about how there's so many singers of yesteryear that could never be popular today.
Right.
In part because their voices are so soulful that they can't be contained in auto-tune or something like that. Like and the way music is made is not conducive to, you know, like a Gladys Knight sort of, or even like people who you might think have, like I think often about one of my favorite cast albums is the original Broadway cast album of Hair.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible.
And there's just some of the singing on there, like those voices are so unique.
Yeah.
And they're kinds of voices that you would never hear in musical theater today.
Right.
Or anywhere else. And yet they have a soul to them that I just am so connected to. Like when I listen to that, the woman, I don't know the singer's name, but when she goes, I met a boy called Frank Mills on September 12th, right here in front of the Waverly. But unfortunately, I lost his address. And like when I hear that, it pierces right inside.
Yes.
That's what she sounds like.
Yes, even like Joanna Gleason as
Joanna
the baker's wife.
Into the Woods, it's so
totally.
Her voice is so unique, and it's her voice.
Yes,
not manipulated to anything else. And I felt that recently. I went to I had never seen the movie Nashville.
I've never seen it.
It's this Robert Altman movie. It's so good, and there was a screening of it at one of the Lincoln Center theaters. And I went and saw it, and it's all about these country singers, and it's got like Lily Tomlin and I'm blanking on everybody's name in it, but they all do like their own singing.
Yeah.
And they just sound like themselves. And there's a soul, and many of them wrote their own songs in this movie. And there's just a soulfulness to it. Karen Black and
Keith Carradine.
Shelley Duvall is amazing.
Oh, Keith Carradine.
There's so many people. It's like a cast of millions, and the sound of it and the sound of their voices, or like when I think about like Linda Ronstadt, like that kind of singer is just unknown to this age. And I'm thinking about, well, what is it? What is it about? What's the soul there?
Right.
And in this show that I want to do, like, is there a way to really sort of remind people of the soul in that way and the uniqueness of the soul in a world where we're all coworkers.
Right.
I'm obsessed.
And that,
but also,
the music isn't a product, it sounds like. It's like...
Or that it's become too much of a product, you know?
Right. And so we're talking
where's
about
the soul in that? Like
the music,
but it's also the
inside ourselves.
It's the recording process too. And it's the difference. Process,
but it's also who gets sort of selected and who works their way into these moments, because the industry is looking for people who can be a product and whose sound can become mass produced out, you know, to millions in order to make a profit.
Who can go through the machine.
Can go through the machine. Yeah. And
sometimes I wonder that if I'm like, okay, so you're looking for like a look, obviously. You're looking for talent and potential, obviously. But then I wonder how much they look at, like, can this person go through this machine? Can this person go through this gamut?
I don't think they give a fuck about the person.
It makes me,
if they have the other things.
Wonder, I mean, this is like the conspiracy theorist in me, I guess, but it makes me wonder if part of the reason why we lost some of the greatest, you know, vocalists and musicians ever is in part because their unique talents were operating at such a high level that the machine sort of killed them, or they couldn't
it wasn't sustainable
at that level. Like, I think we will never have another Whitney Houston.
Right.
But because she was at such a high, unique kind of level of what no one could do what she did.
Yeah, she burned so hot.
She burned so hard and burned out. I mean, I know there's other factors there, but but then once she was gone, she was gone.
But that's what I mean. Those are all the factors that like go into making a human artist.
Right.
And that probably like affect the final outcome.
Yeah,
and
like
so
once Michael Jackson was gone, that was gone. Once Luther Vandross was gone, that was gone. Once Prince was gone, that was gone. And in the vacuum of those people, I think like the landscape has changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so true.
It's very interesting. It's very...
So, I don't know. We'll see where I ultimately land, because obviously this piece has shifted many times in the last years. But my note-taking has been more fervent in the last year. So I suspect that I'm circling.
You feel like it's incubating.
You're circling.
I think the egg has been implanted. I'm using like a bad metaphor for like surrogacy. Like when you do the surrogacy, like don't you have to implant the egg and see if it takes?
Yeah, the embryo. Like you it's IVF. Wait, Michael, before we let you go, because we've been taking up so much of your time. So A Strange Loop is now in Los Angeles at the Amundsen until when?
Until June 30th.
Until June 30th. And then is it touring? Is that what's happening? Is it a...
This is the end of the sort of Broadway version of it. It's available for licensing. It was just done in Boston, which was the first sort of regional premiere of it. That was like another version. And there's a bunch of other versions coming up in the next year. But
what does that mean, different versions? What do you mean?
So meaning like this production is the production that was on Broadway.
And directed by the same
the same director, same creative team, the whole bit, same choreography, all of that.
And now that it's available, other regional theaters
can license it, and they can conceive their own production. So this guy named Maurice Parent directed it in Boston. The Canadian premiere of it will be in Toronto, I think, in the winter.
Oh,
it's
cool.
going to be in Atlanta next year. I think our theater in Virginia is going to do it. So people are going to like do their own version. I mean, it'll be the same show, but like they're going to do their own take on it.
Their own take.
Do you go see? Will you go see them all?
No. Although I'm surprising myself by I am gonna go to Toronto because I just want to see what Canadian is. Just like I wanted to see what London Strange Loop was.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go to Atlanta because that's in Tyler's backyard. And so I had to see what the Georgians, what their take on it is.
Yes.
And just reach out and see if he wants to be your plus one. I might
text him, but I might also just like leave him be, and that's fine. I don't need for him to come.
Yeah. Right.
And I only want him to come if he wants to do it.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
I'm also just genuinely curious about the piece's reception in Atlanta. So I know I'm gonna go at least to those two. Beyond that, I'll probably chill on going to see them. Otherwise, I'll just be like the Strange Loop ambulance chaser or tornado chaser.
You're like the a high school football player that keeps going back to the games.
Right. But there's gonna be certain places where I'll find out they're doing it, and I'll be like, I want to see that. Like, if I find out like somebody wants to do Strange Loop in like Japan, I want to go to Japan and see a Strange Loop.
Yes,
I want to know what that is.
Yes, 100%. It's so interesting. It's also interesting, like that this thing that was yours. Obviously, you were like nominated and won so many things for it, but like
won a Tony and a Pulitzer Prize.
And Drama Desk Award, right?
Yep.
Amazing.
But like now it just goes and it becomes its own thing, and other people get to do with it what they want, which is so wild.
I think that's kind of cool, you know?
I love it.
That to me speaks to the spirit of the whole thing, that like
of the theater.
That's why that it's just the loop sort of continues. And people and everybody gets to figure out how they fit into it. Because my thing is that everybody has a Strange Loop. And there's a kind of universality in the specific of it. And so I'm excited by the idea of people taking, if you think of it as like a prism, it just refracts differently in the light. And the light hits every facet of it in a different way. But it's still the prism, you know? And so that's kind of cool.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Amazing. And I'm super excited to see what's next. And White Girl in Danger is closed, but right? It's closed now.
White Girl in Danger is closed.
But Teeth is coming in the fall.
Back. Yeah, it was
coming
at
back
Horizons in the spring. It'll be at New World Stages in the fall.
I know. I was bummed I didn't get to see it in the spring, so I'm excited to come in October.
Well, I'll invite you to opening night.
I would love to come to opening night of Teeth.
Yes. Teeth is a wild ride. So
I can't wait.
Well, we are so grateful to you for spending time with us today. We've been dying to talk to you for years.
A long time. A really long time.
I'm so happy that we spoke, and I think y'all are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
We think you're awesome. If you get a chance to see A Strange Loop, whether it's in LA or one of the local productions, please go see it. You won't regret it. You won't regret it, even if you're not sitting behind Beyonce's mom.
I certainly wasn't either time I saw it. So, well, Michael, have a wonderful day. When are you back in New York?
I will be back for a hot second on June 24th.
For my birthday. June 25th is my birthday.
Oh my God. Happy early birthday. Yeah, I'll be back for a hot little second, but then I'm going to fly the coop again, and I'm going to sort of just travel.
It's the summer. You got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to travel this great nation of ours for the rest of the summer.
Okay, great. And it sounds amazing. We'll have a wonderful summer, and it was so good to talk to you. We'll talk soon.
Enjoy Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Bye, Michael.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. My dogs are just screaming.
Maybe there's a possum.
I don't know what is happening. You know, my dogs have always been very barky, but at this late age, they have never howled before. But our neighbors got a dog behind us, and that dog howls. And I think it taught the girls how to howl. So now they're like,
that's really funny. They enjoy howling.
Now they just realized they could do it. Like, within the past 6 months.
Good for them.
Good for them. I'm glad they're exploring new passions. It's not my favorite.
No, sounds terrible. What are you doing your best at?
What am I doing my best at? I guess I'm just doing my best at, I'm just catching up on all the stuff that I didn't do when I was in New York. I really when we were working on the QVC show, I really was good about drawing boundaries, I think in particular with people. And thank you to everyone that I drew a boundary with, where I was like, I can't talk to you about this thing right now because it's just not on the priority list. So, because, and I say with love, a lot of people, most of the emails that I get in my inbox every day are like, people that want to be on the podcast or people that want me to read something for them and give them notes or thoughts or whatever, stuff like that. And I do love to do that. And that's what makes the world go round. Like the podcast doesn't exist without guests. And if you want people.
To be fair, I do want to just say, we have definitely done the podcast without guests.
That's true. But it's nice to have guests, but it's talk about a strange loop, right? Sometimes I feel like my life is a strange loop of me pitching things to people that I'm hoping they'll say yes to, and people pitching things to me that I'm sure they're hoping I'll say yes to. And then you realize that it's all just part of this, they're pitching to thousands of people and hoping that 10 people will say yes. And am I one of the, and there's follow up or whatever. It's a lot. It's, it's a lot. And it's it's a part of the hustling of this job and this culture that I don't, it's not my favorite part of doing it. Making the thing is my favorite part of doing it. And I don't like trying to convince people to work on it or watch it or promote it or feature it, whatever. That's not my favorite part, but I understand it's part of it. But so anyway, I really when I was in New York, all of that, I just was I can't talk about this or whatever. So hit me up in June. And so all of those hit me up in Junes are happening right now. And so I'm just trying to just deal with them and do good things and be polite and be professional and get, make sure that I've answered everyone back because they were patient with me. So
I'm sure you're doing great at that. You are very good about that in a way that I'm not, but it is what it is.
I try, but also we've had this conversation recently where we're talking about how much just information and contact we have now versus when we were growing up and we didn't have phones in our pockets or whatever. And so sometimes I'm just sometimes I'm just it's just not physically within my bandwidth to respond to all of this. So I'm not gonna, it's interesting. Here's a little bit of an item. Someone that we once had on the podcast was somebody who I contacted back in the day when I was first starting out as a writer, and somebody that I looked up to, and they were and it was somebody that other people had put me in touch with to get in touch with them, and this person will be a mentor to you. And that person at that time in the 1990s was flat out I don't have time to talk to you about this. And I was okay, thank you for letting me know. I never forgot it, but it has stayed with me low these many years, but I'm that was in the 1990s. So if in 2024, I don't exactly have time to talk about or respond to every single thing, hopefully people will understand. But yeah, anyway. Am I making sense? Not a lot.
I think so.
What are you doing your best at?
Well,
we know about the emails.
Oh, yeah. I talked about that on my Instagram stories, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast.
No.
Which was, guys, in case you missed the Instagram stories, Caissie helped me make a document. I needed to gather some addresses of people whose addresses I didn't have. I sent out an email with a link for people to input their addresses. I'm very proud of myself for accomplishing this thing that I had been putting off for a long time. And also I don't have an assistant. That's normally like a type of thing that like an assistant would have helped me with in the last like month and a half, which is how long I was supposed to have done. Okay. I did not BCC. Blind CC. I only CC'd. And it was a lot of people on that email chain.
Yeah.
To be fair, not as many as could have been on the email chain. I'm not kidding. Like I was like, I'll do this first round and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And it went so horribly because I didn't BCC that I did not ever send out another round. But here's the thing. It was really funny because there were like very famous people on the chain.
Yes, sure.
Which famous people don't like to be CC'd with 64 other people.
Right. You know
Generally speaking.
Here's what I'll say. I wasn't on the email because obviously you already have my address and so you don't need it. It wound up, I know you felt bad about it at first. You texted me immediately and you were like, I did this. And I was like, oh no. But it wound up sounding so fun that I was sad that I wasn't on the...
I have to tell you something.
What?
I think it had been so long since anyone had made that particular fuck up because who in God's name would do that at this point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That the entire group, Katie Couric was the first to respond and she was just like, well, hi everyone, Katie. And from there, it just snowballed and everyone jumped in and people were just like lolling at how insane it was. And I had immediately sent out a thing before Katie even responded that was like, you guys, I cannot believe I did this. I'm so sorry. I cannot unsend this. I deeply apologize. I'm so sorry.
Gosh.
But also like a lot of people reached out to me and they were like, from that list, and they were like, thank God. Like it's just everybody, everyone fucks up and like, it's okay. And like, it's great when someone else fucks up.
Oh my God. It happened like 10 years ago. There was like, the platform doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think, but there was like a comedy platform that was like a startup and an assistant sent out an email to every famous comedian in the world and me asking for our address so that we could get like the comedy platform's Christmas gift or whatever. And it was, you know what? It was so interesting because it was a real test of the people because so many people had so much fun with it. And so many people who are like, one of the most famous comedians in the world would be like, stop this immediately. It's so immature. And then that would just get the number 2 most famous comedian. It would just inspire them to reply all even more. And to this day, 10 years later, every once in a while, I still will get a reply all from somebody who will be like, I never got my hat.
No. That's amazing.
So that's my hope is that a decade later, people are still replying all to that email.
I mean, same though, same. Well, there's so much going on here. I guess we should just say goodbye.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm doing my best at having a good sense of humor about my fuck up.
You did. You were great about it. I mean, I'm sure inside you felt...
Inside I was dying, but outside, but I managed to have a good sense of humor about it. And yes, it's all a thing.
All right. Guys,
anyway,
we love you.
We love you.
It was nice talking to you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
So soon.
Bye.
Bye. Oh no.